Good evening. Welcome to Backstory with Joan Goldstein. I'm Joan Goldstein. The topic today is education, and my guests are students at a community college, my students at a community college. I'm introducing to my left Ann Christensen, Michael Jorge.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Jorge Sutherland and Cimarron Sharon. 4 students at community college, all of them in my social problems class. Okay, I think we were talking in class about who really attends a community college, and we were watching, or some of us were watching, this new program called Community, which is supposed to be set at a community college, and we all kind of felt that they were very negative stereotypes. Did any of you get a chance to watch that show?
Yes, I did.
I did.
Okay, well, tell us something about what you thought when you watched it.
I thought it was very unrealistic and a bit insulting. They had one older student, which I am, and I thought they portrayed him as being really dumb. I just thought it was not realistic, and I hope people don't look at it like that's really what a community college is about.
Okay, we'll find out more about that. And by the way, Ann's son was a student in my class last year, and Graham. And
Yes.
he recommended me as a professor.
Yes, he did.
Best recommendation ever. Okay, Michael, what would you think?
I've been watching the show for the past couple of weeks now, and I don't like the repetitive stereotypes that keep coming up. I feel that they're, a bit negative.
Okay, what
for people
kind
to
of
perceive.
stereotypes do you see?
I find that the students that are portrayed are there because they need to be at the community college, not because they wanted to be. And I don't agree with that necessarily, because I'm at the community college because I want to be.
Okay, we'll find out more about that. And have you had a chance to watch that show? No. You
I
have?
watched it.
Cimarron, what did you think?
Well, the students were never portrayed as studying. They were never working. They were always doing something really stupid, like one scene they were trying to see how many pencils they could fit in the other person's mouth. And that would never happen. Like, we work really hard. We're always studying. We're not just sitting around goofing off all the time.
I didn't like the stereotype about the professor. There's a professor who he's ethnically Chinese, but he teaches Spanish, and he somehow resents the stereotype of him being ethnically Chinese, and why isn't he teaching science or math instead of Spanish? Well, in general, though, I think most people don't understand what a community college is, or who are the people who go there, and what do they want from it. So I thought maybe we could talk about it a little bit. Maybe each one of us could say a little bit, what are you doing there? Why are you there? Maybe we'll start with Ann, because she's what we call an alternative student, because she's not 18 years old.
Yeah, that's for sure. I guess I decided to go back to school because I wanted a bachelor's degree. So I thought, it's been about 30 years or more since I've been in school. So I thought I would start at the community college level. And I found it to be, it's pretty challenging. What I wanted to do was transfer to get a bachelor's degree in nursing. So I worked really hard. I worked, and I have a family. And last month, I had an interview at Thomas Jefferson University in Philadelphia and got accepted. So I was so thrilled. I mean, it really worked for me. I'm glad that there are schools that take community college students seriously. It's not a place where you see people playing around. We work really hard. And I'm thrilled. And I've seen a lot of people, too, that work really hard there. And it's really what you make of it. You know, it is a stepping stone to the next place.
I think this is something that I found really important about. Almost all my students have at least one job. Usually I do a poll at the beginning of the semester, and I say, how many people have one job? Everyone raises their hand. How many people have 2 jobs? Many hands go up. 3 jobs, 1 or 2. Everybody's working. They have a job, and we're not talking about 2 hours a week of babysitting. they're working 20 hours a week, 30 hours a week, some of them unheard of 40 hours a week. And this is the thing that distinguishes the community college student, is that they're already participating in the world of work. And that makes it a lot more demanding on their time. Anybody else have any thoughts? Michael, did you want to say?
Oh, definitely, yes. I feel that, like you said, we are a hardworking group of people. I mean, we don't stick pencils in our mouths or, you know, goof off and not study. It's a community college is, you know, just like any other school, may even be better. I like that they keep their students on track. I feel like it's a more hands-on learning experience, and that's why I love the system.
Do you have a job?
Yes, I do.
And you've talked about your job in class, haven't you?
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. I'm
Yes.
a salesman, and I do work more than 2 hours a week. I mean, it's definitely a challenge, juggling all the responsibilities.
And it's wonderful when in our class discussions they'll refer to their own experiences in the real world. So it really becomes a part of the curriculum in a way. Kalaji.
Well, I started my undergraduate experience at Morehouse College, which is in Atlanta, Georgia. And due to some unforeseen circumstances, I was led back to the Northeast. And I ended up at Mercer based on a recommendation from my cousin, who attended Mercer about 2 years prior to my arrival to New Jersey. And she really recommended it based on the strength of the curriculum. So I really find that the community college experience is comparable to that of a four-year school in terms of the rigor within the classroom and the seriousness of the professors, and just the overall experience is very positive. There's a lot of intellectual stimulation, and it's a very serious environment. It's nothing like what is portrayed on TV, although I haven't been able to see the community college. What is the name of the show again?
Community.
Community.
The name of the show is
See
Community.
that show.
And we had the discussion about stereotypes in class yesterday, and some of the students said, no, for me, the worst stereotype for my life is the community college. that people, when he says he goes to a community college, people say things like, well, do you do anything there, or do you learn anything there? And he gets very offended by that. And what is your plans?
Well, I intend to transfer to Rutgers to complete my bachelor's degree. I'm not going to get the associate's degree from Mercer, but
Okay,
I'll
well,
move
that's
forward.
one path to go. Right, and do you have a job?
I do. I'm a research assistant for Symmetric Research. I do data input.
Okay, we got serious people here. Simran.
Well, because I graduated younger than most people who graduate high school, I wasn't sure how ready I was to go out and live away from home and be at a traditional four-year college, so I thought attending community college for a year would be a good experience for me to kind of see what college classes are like, and it'd be a good transition, so I could have that year of letting my age catch up to everybody and then attend college next year.
Okay, and what has it been like? What's your experience been like?
I really enjoy it. The classes, they're actually kind of hard, but I really like them. I'm getting a lot out of it.
Cimarron is a very adventurous student. I do a program at the Princeton Public Library called Talking Politics, and Cimarron came to my session this past week. We discussed a book on Afghanistan and Pakistan. Cimarron was there, and she gives a report back to class on what she got from it. I mentioned a movie, and Cimarron went to see the movie, and she wrote up a review of the movie, so she's very industrious. And you have a job, Cimarron?
Yes.
And what do you do?
I work at New York Sports Club. I work at the front desk, and I also work in the child care room.
Okay. All right. Okay, so here we are. We're in college, all of us, and you're thinking about your plans for the future. And then you start to hear in class and read in the newspapers how bad the economy is. Jobless rate is what, up 10% now nationally? A lot of people have lost their jobs, and younger people coming out of school are having more difficulty finding work. How does that impact in your own thinking about your life? What does it make you think about?
Well, certainly I think about my future and the career that I'm going to be participating in, whether my job is really going to be needed in the future, but primarily my education. I mean, education will lead the way into finding other things in life, such as a successful career.
Yes, building on Michael's point, I think it's critical that the college experience in itself teaches critical thinking, so that one can create a path on their own, not based on what you are just given, but kind of forge your own path. and also rely upon the resources that you've gotten from college to put yourself at an advantage as opposed to your competitors who may not be exposed to what you've been exposed to. So it's critical.
I think that what a lot of college students are thinking is, what will make me money the second I graduate? Because a lot of times people go to college and they get to explore what they're interested in, but now I think people are more interested in, well, will this make me money? Will I get a job when I graduate? So I think that's shifting a lot of people's career paths.
Yes, making money is the thing that everyone's thinking about once they get out of college, but I think one of the most important things to think about is saving money while you're in college. A lot of debt can be built up in college, and community college definitely helps out with saving up money, and you're getting a quality education. I think one of the things that gets misconstrued is that you're not getting a quality education at a community college, but I feel that the professors are on par with other professors at any other school. We have fine professors such as yourself, and you know, fine students that are joining us here today that are compatible to any other students at any other college.
So when people have these stereotypes about community colleges, what is it really that this comes from? What do you think?
I think the media. I mean, we started off our discussion with Show Community that just really doesn't help the cause for community colleges. I mean, we're basically being taught to look down upon a community college when it's really something that you should look towards for, you know, an education.
I think the other thing too is that people look at community college as, oh, these are students that just couldn't get into a four-year school or couldn't get into a whatever, Ivy League school, or they're losers. But I found it quite opposite. I mean, I've been in classes where, you know, there are people that are students with PhD, and there's other students with their degrees in chemistry, or they're going back to school to learn something else. A lot of them are going, I'm finding a lot of people are going towards the healthcare career, like going that pathway. But there's a real range of students, and I think that that's what people are missing. They don't know that. But I've met some really smart people that are students. And the thing is that you can't sit in a classroom and assume anything. You don't know who's sitting next to you. You don't know where they've been. You don't know their education. You don't know. So it's very interesting to me. I've learned a lot about people, and I think it makes you more open to a lot of people too, because there are all kinds of people there.
That is one of the characteristics, diversity, much wider diversity. That's the one thing that dumb program does give you a sense of, is that there's a lot of, you know, diversity in the people, but that's where it ends. That's where it ends. So, but what is this business of downplaying or looking at people who go to is it because it's a public institution as opposed to a private institution, therefore there's not the same kind of money involved in terms of tuition and pay? Is it, you know, is it because the people that are attracted there don't have a lot of money, and that is one of the advantages of going there? So I kind of wonder if it isn't a little more about a status.
One of the,
you know?
I feel that one of the problems may actually be diversity as a whole. I mean, people are looking at the differences in universities and the people who go to Harvard or, you know, community college, and the problem is that people are so worried about being diverse and, you know, separate from each other that they're forgetting that as a whole we're one species, we're one race, and we're surrounded by one main idea, and that's to just get an education and try and better ourselves and our futures. And that's what people misconstrue about community college. We're all trying to get an education.
And that's part of the American dream, isn't it? The American
Absolutely.
dream for the past, 200 years has been education as a means of moving up economically. And for over 100 years, it's possibly been that way, although there's certainly been very creative people who've not necessarily gone to college and done well, but everybody holds up Bill Gates, you know. But, and that's not a reason not to go to college, but I think that Kalanja's point that teaching you to think critically, you know, the world changes, technology changes, If we teach you how to do something with a machine or a computer one day, it can be changed a day or two later. So the most important thing you're getting is what to think, right? Critically think, because as you go through life, you go through the world, it's the ability to do what? Observe, analyze, think, question. Those are the things we're doing, you know, in sociology and hopefully in your other classes. And this is the kind of tools you have your entire life. Because honestly, we don't know where we're headed. We don't really know. The future can be the future very quickly when so many changes go on. I remember when I graduated from my bachelor's degree, I went to the University of Iowa. Now, I wasn't from Iowa. I wasn't even from the Midwest. I was from New York City. But I had an older brother named Michael who influenced me to go to the University of Iowa. And it was good. You know, it was an interesting place. Terrible weather, awful winters. But, you know, interesting place. Creative writing workshop. I was in the creative writing workshop. I was an artist. It was wonderful education. But when I came back, I had no idea what I was going to do with my life. And I had this terrible problem of you know, I got to go to work and I have to have money immediately. And I set about to take any job that I could find and learn about the world. And I did learn about the world a great deal. And that wisdom is what really stayed with me. The more you participate in life, the more you're part of the world. And I think that's something that a benefit you get from not being wealthy. My goodness, we found a reason not to be wealthy. But the benefit you get is that you have more opportunity to be a part of and explore the world. And that wisdom can be useful. How would you compare, for example, your experience at Morehouse? Now, Morehouse is famous, or was famous, because Martin Luther King Jr. he went there, didn't he? And
Absolutely.
Yeah, so.
Well, the experience at Morehouse, it's not as one would expect based on the rhetoric that spews from the campus. There's a big perception that Morehouse is almost an Ivy League school. In the South particularly, they compare Morehouse to Harvard. Morehouse is the Harvard of the South. Mm-hmm. But that perception is highly misconstrued, as Michael uses the term. Professors are oftentimes missing from the classroom. The curriculum is not as rigorous as one would expect from a four-year school. And Mercer really compares to Morehouse, almost surpasses Morehouse in terms of the curriculum being so strong. And I've never had a professor miss a class thus far during the semester. The professors are very serious as to how they approach the work and how they address students and how to build students' critical thinking skills. I mean, it's a very serious environment, as I mentioned earlier, and it really almost surpasses Morehouse in my expectation.
That is interesting. Isn't it interesting, though, how educational institutions are more about perception of what they are than what in fact really goes on? You know, calling it a Harvard of the South, and in fact what he finds is there seems to be less dedication. Professors easily miss classes, and I know I've taught at other places and that is more common than you would think. And at Mercer, I've almost never missed a class. In fact, students would sometimes say, "Don't you ever stay home?" I thought, is that meant as a compliment? I'm not sure. But yes, no, I feel that I can't miss a class. There are days when I could have off. It might be a holiday of some kind, a religious holiday. I don't take it because I still feel, well, if they show up, I should show up. Or if there's a terrible snowstorm, and it would be very easy for me to say, well, you know, it's too hard for me to get there. I'm just not going to show up. But then I have to think, well, but I know those students are going to make every effort they can to be there. So how can I not be there? If they, you know, we're all driving through the same terrible roads to get to. And I think that's another thing about community colleges. It's not just that students aren't sitting around doing silly things as they show on the program. As soon as they leave class, they're rushing off to their cars, to their jobs. Or they're rushing off to something, to their families, to their children, whatever. We have single parents in the class. They have to make child care arrangements. So everybody has a very demanding life. They're not sitting around. They're not goofing off. Quite the contrary. If anything, I try to make the class a little more relaxing for them, like not quite so much pressure, because I think they need that time. They need to feel, to enjoy. Enjoy learning, enjoy the class. It should not be a high pressure experience. I don't think I think it hinders learning when you're just too tense, too nervous. And I sometimes wonder, the other day in one of my classes, I don't know how, part of the discussion came up about eating patterns, and one fellow said that he doesn't eat, till 3 in the afternoon, and it goes through an entire day without eating. And I thought, that's terrible, you know? You must feel very foggy all day long until you finally have something to eat about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. He looked amazed, because as a matter of fact, in the class, I have noticed that he doesn't focus very well. He sits there, he plays with his whatever he has there, a cell phone or whatever, and it's kind of annoyed me, you know. The next time he came to class, he was alert, he was relaxed, he didn't have the cell phony thing going on, he was trying to take notes, he was trying to participate. I thought, what in the world has happened? Is he actually eating breakfast? Wow, you know, isn't this amazing? So sometimes you intersect with people's lives in ways that you couldn't possibly know. So.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think I've lived on peanut butter and jelly sandwiches on wheat bread for the last 2 years. I pack it in the morning and bring it, the banana. Yeah, but it works.
It works. It's all about your drive. What you put in, you get out.
Yeah.
So sometimes when you're a student and you have all of these other demands on your life, your jobs and your home, you have to be more organized. You have to plan ahead. You have to be more purposeful. You have to think about making lunch the night before so that you have it ready to go. I have a friend who makes, I can't believe it, makes toast at night and then puts it in the fridge so that they don't have to use the toaster in the morning. And they're probably going to watch this show and know that I'm talking about it, and I'm sorry about that. But it's kind of the things we have to do when we make a commitment in life.
Yeah.
You know, I remember when I came back from the University of Iowa and I had to find a job right away. One of the jobs I found was working for a big advertising agency, doing editing and coding of surveys. And this was from 5 to 10 at night, so that I could go and take my classes during the day because I wanted to become a teacher in New York City, and you had to take education courses that I didn't have. So I would take my courses during the day, and then, because that's when they offered them, and then at night, from 5 to 10 at night, I worked editing and coding at this advertising agency, and I had to bring a sandwich along for dinner because, of course, you didn't get dinner. I got really thin that summer, and I remembered also feeling that what I was doing at the time was not meaningful, but it was paying me, and I had to put up with that, you know. Why wasn't it meaningful? Well, they did surveys like, which color Jell-O do people prefer most, you know, green or orange? And then from the results of that, they could then tell the company that makes the Jell-O which Jell-O color to use. And I felt, this isn't meaningful. This isn't what I was put on the planet to do, you know. And another time, I would go into education. Then I left education, and then I would go back to it. And one time when I had left education, I worked for a advertising agency, and I was on Park Avenue, and I thought, I wanted glamour, you know. I wanted something a little more glamorous. And turns out that I wasn't doing anything at all meaningful. The lunches got longer, the drinking got longer, and I was a writer, and I would be writing about things that were meaningless. And the only joy I had was working as a volunteer at a hospital with children 1 or 2 nights a week. And then I'd come out of there and feel like my life was meaningful. So I said, face it, go back to teaching. Don't give up. So somehow you too are going to face these kinds of questions. It isn't going to be a straight line. It's not linear. It's a matter of searching and finding. And what is it you want? What is it you want from life? What is it you want from a job? Why do you choose the jobs you're choosing, and why are you choosing to be a nurse?
Well, about 10 years ago, my husband was in a really bad car accident. Anyway, he was crushed all the bones in his face, broke his shoulder, and he was in neurological ICU. And well, anyway, subsequently, he's had about at least 20 surgeries, and he's fine now. And but it was a rocky road there. And so anyway, he had a lot of his surgeries at Thomas Jefferson University, and I would sit there in the waiting room and sit there, and I thought, oh my gosh, if I'm ever going to get into healthcare, this is where I want to be. So actually it was a life-changing experience, but that is why I'm going into nursing. So hopefully I can bring my experience, help other people with what I've gone through.
That's the best kind of person we want in healthcare, isn't it? Somebody who really has a deep commitment.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And Michael, you're going to be an educator, maybe?
Yes, it's definitely a possibility. I just want to, you know, help foster little kids into healthy young adults with clear thoughts, and, you know, just teach them how to do the things that they want to do. Supply them with the knowledge they'll need to do that.
I feel better already knowing that Michael is going to be
Yeah.
a teacher. Yay. And you're going to political science, right?
Yes, I'm a political science major. My initial plans were to head into law school, but I'm not quite as sure how passionate I am about being a lawyer. You know, as I approach the future, you know, with even greater intensity, as opposed to when I was first an undergraduate. So I don't know exactly where I'm going to end up, but with a political science degree, that may be politics, it may be law if my passion changes in the future, but we'll see.
Okay.
Not quite sure.
Okay. You're not there yet, right? Or are you?
Well, when I transfer next year, I'm planning on majoring in neuroscience.
Wow. Ouch. Okay. Well, we all have goals and we have reasons for going in those particular directions. And it's wonderful that you shared so much of yourself with me. I want to thank you all for coming today. I know it wasn't easy. Some of you are rushing from jobs and going back to jobs, or several of you are coming to class with me. Maybe we'll stop at Conti's first, and then we'll go to class. So I know that it was nice of you to come, and I know I enjoy your class immensely. I walk out of there and feel so good just having been with you. The future shows that I'm going to do will take up other kinds of social issues. We'll be looking at local newspapers, and should we continue to have them? Why are they important? What should they do for us that we really need them to continue? We'll be looking at other kinds of questions, like how can people help themselves? How can they take better care of themselves? And why, if they don't they do it? And those are some of the shows coming down the road. So please come back to Backstory with Joan Goldstein. Thank you.